Welcome back to Dr. Walls and Friends with Miss G here.
Yes.
I was going to try to practice my Jamaican accent.
You better practice.
Sharon.
Yes, man.
Yes,
You have it.
all right.
Yes, you get it. Bonafide Jamaican. Don't make you fool you.
That's right. It's coming. People call me Rasta all the time
Because
when they see this
your
hair.
locks. But isn't that something again? Now let's look at that. The locks. Now, it has become a fashion statement.
Yes.
Now, do you know how many people died, got abused in Jamaica when they dared to grow locks on their head?
Wow.
So do you see what I'm saying about how we overcome and how we grow?
Yes.
To the point now where you're wearing your locks and you're jazzing your locks and beautiful. I'm doing
Yes, you were
my
doing
locks.
it. Yes.
And so many others. And so now locks doesn't have to be synonymous with Rastafari anymore, because locks has become a fashion, a hairstyle,
Yes.
so to speak. An industry has been created about locticians and taking care
It's
of
the
locks
truth.
and products.
Yes. Yes. And I'm just thinking, I'm tying it back into the beginning as we talk about from the ground, if we want to say grassroots,
Yeah, absolutely,
so to speak,
yes.
and going back to the earth.
Yes.
And here we have locks, and very much looking like roots
Yes.
of a tree.
Yes, yes, it is.
It's
It
very
is.
powerful.
It is extremely powerful, and I think that when you wear your locks, it is a political statement about where you are in your life, in your mind space. You could easily have chosen to do whatever you wanted to do
Right.
with your hair. Because of where you are, you chose to lock your hair.
Yes.
So it's making a statement. Period.
Yeah.
So Dr. Walls, oh yeah, she wears locks.
And that's what happens. I work with a lot of children, a lot of youth, and different people all over the world. But when I go to certain schools and I'll ask people and I'll say, do you know who I am? And they say no. And I turn around and I say, do you remember seeing this hair? And they say yes. And
They
I say,
remember
okay.
the hair.
They remember the hair.
There
And
you
then
go.
the children ask me, and it gives me an opportunity to teach.
talk about. I love it.
Yes.
I love it. So that is your calling card. It
It
kind of
is.
opens up the
It
conversation.
is. And so
I love
locks
it.
like roots end up connecting me to other people
Look at
all
that.
the time.
Look at that. Look at that. I
Y'all
love
better
that.
watch out.
I love
Make
that
it work.
now. Hey, now.
Yes.
I like that. I like that. I like that. I'm seeing that.
So now we were talking about passion and purpose a little off camera. How did this come to you?
Oh. Well, it didn't just come to me. I must confess that you can tell I'm very passionate about
Yes.
this. This is my life's work. I don't know to do anything else but this. This is what I do. But my partner, Brother Carlisle McKetty, and I co-founded this organization. And it came at a time, as we're talking about the roots, it came at a time when there was a shift taking place in the music some 10 years ago, where reggae's offspring, dancehall, was and I don't even like to use the word dancehall, because dancehall, just so the audience knows, is really a venue. It's a space.
Correct.
Back in the day, can I just teach? Okay.
Teach.
Back in the day, right? If you remember, in the islands, the radio stations were playing more contemporary music coming from overseas. And so the music of the island, Jamaican people's music, was not making it to the airwaves. And so if you wanted to hear the music of Bob Marley, Peter Tosh, and people like that, you had to go where? To the dance hall. And the dance hall was a space, a venue where you went, and the DJs would set up, yes, with one turntable, and so you had a toaster who would be on the mic, and in between the DJ selecting the songs, he had to entertain the crowd, because you don't want them to get bored, right?
That's right.
And that's how this whole thing started. Then they had two turntables, and they started going back and forth. So the dance hall was really a space. What happened in the 70s was people like Sugar Minott and folks like that started to come with a more up-tempo, kind of more contemporary, and I would say popular sound.
Yes.
And that was somehow more attractive to the younger folk, and that became labeled as dancehall music.
Okay.
But even then, it was not the dancehall music that you're hearing now. What we're hearing now that is being labeled as dancehall is really not dancehall music. And I'm talking about the current popular sounds coming
Yes.
out of Jamaica. It is not. It is a whole, I don't know what the name of that is yet. But, and there are people who have given it all types, but it's not dancehall. But I guess people say dancehall just to communicate. So I just wanted to make sure your audience understood
Thank you.
that, roots reggae and dancehall are two different things.
Yes.
And there are a lot of music that comes out of Jamaica. Not all the music that comes out of Jamaica is reggae music.
And I'm so glad you clarified that, because you have calypso.
Yes, you do.
You have reggae.
ska, you have reggae,
Right.
you have a whole lot. And there's good folk music coming out of Jamaica.
Yes.
We have folk singers galore. People aren't even aware of that. A lot of folk music comes out of Jamaica. And believe it or not, you have a lot of classically trained musicians in Jamaica who do that kind of classical stuff
Wow.
too. But you don't hear about these folk.
Right.
Because reggae or dancehall, depending, is what eats up all the oxygen
Right.
in the room.
And that's what's most
And
popular.
that's what's
What is
popular.
most known.
And that is what's most known.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. So now, so you said.
How do we start?
Yes.
Yes.
That's all right. No, it's important that we teach on Dr.
Yes, we
Bob's
got
friends.
it. That's what you
must
do,
teach.
right? You
That is what I do.
Exactly.
That's right.
So, and it's part of our mission of CPR as well, to educate and inform. So we were, there was a concern that was being shared with us by many of our friends. I have always been in the music business on the New York scene, and I had taken a little hiatus, and Brother Carlisle years ago was involved in a lot of bands here in the 70s. He played keyboards, was a member of many bands, was very instrumental in breaking out a lot of venues and stuff like that, and somehow went off into becoming an urban planner, which is his forte. And I, we were, our friends kept saying to us, what's going on? The music is taking on a certain vibe, and there's a lot of, xenophobic music, homophobic music, misogynistic themes, and the messages was just kind of, And we kept getting this from a lot of people, and we were approaching the 75th anniversary of the coronation of His Majesty. Now, who is His Majesty? His Majesty is the muse, the original muse for roots reggae music, and let me explain it to you this way. Emperor Haile Selassie I of Ethiopia and his queen, Empress Menen, were crowned in 1930, am I correct? And when they were crowned, it was the first time that an emperor and his empress were being crowned together. Usually the empress would be crowned a few days later, and he said, no, we're crowning my empress with me.
Wow.
Same time. So this was like revolutionary
Yes,
at the
it
time.
was.
I love that man for that.
Yes.
I love him for that, because he recognized the female.
That's right.
But then he became a muse to the Rastafarians at the time, because Marcus Garvey had prophesied and said, look to the east for the coming of a black king. So bear in mind what's going on around the world. Bear in mind what's going on here in America, that this news is coming to the Caribbean. There is this struggle that is taking place. We know about the civil rights movement and all that. But even before we got to that, Jim Crow and all of that was happening here. And so there was a struggle within the Jamaican society for the Africans in Jamaican society to find a space for themselves. They didn't see themselves in this colonial plantation that they were living on. And when they heard Marcus Garvey utter those words and that prophecy, they were looking to the east for the coming of a black king. Well, the king came in 1930 in the form of His Imperial Majesty being crowned. And when he was crowned with such titles as Kings of Kings, Lords of Lords, Conquering Lion of the Tribe of Judah. The lineage to King David is direct.
Wow.
You see. So he then got revered as a god by many of those who felt that they needed to see a God that looked like them.
Okay.
The music then started, and that's why I say he's the original muse, because his influence then came through this music that was birthed out of this experience. And we have people like Count Ozzy and folk like that who would then take the drums and incorporate it with the popular sound that was happening at the time. And before you know it, we have this music called reggae music that was looking at liberation, that was looking at struggle, that was looking at overcoming, empowering, and all of that. Trying to desperately get inside of a people's minds so they could understand that you are more than what your oppressor says you are. And if you listen to the music of that time, it really does teach you that.
So it speaks to it.
You see, and let me just put it in context. People need to understand that Jamaica was the first country who said they were going to have economic sanctions against South Africa and, the whole apartheid issue. So Jamaica was the first, okay? But it had to be that way because the vibration in Jamaica spoke to that. And if you look to the reggae music of that time, they're singing about South Africa. They're singing about what's going on in Mozambique. They're singing, you see what's going on the continent, what's going on around in our region of the Caribbean, what's going on in America. So the music took on this revolutionary
that vibe,
force, that vibe
and that
with
frequency,
it,
as
and
you
that
say.
frequency. And so when you're operating on that frequency, then
Yes.
others who are operating on that frequency are gonna what? Get connected and attracted. And so when the music, and that's why it wasn't surprising that so many of our American brothers and sisters kind of gravitated
To it.
to the music.
Exactly.
And that's why so many of our freedom fighters, whether in Africa, whether in Mozambique, or wherever, gravitated towards
Yes.
it. You know, I'll give your case in point.
Well, let's
go
pause
ahead,
for
go
just
ahead.
a
I'm
moment.
sorry. I can
That's all
talk so
right.
much.
We're going to go to commercial and we will be right back.
Gotta slow me down, Doc.